Good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. I'm so happy to be here answering your questions. We are back live every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, answering the questions that we have here on YouTube. Can you hear it yet? I'm not getting the audio. Hi, happy birthday. Hello, happy Sunday. Shields, can you hear me? I'm just doing an audio test. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Oh, perfect. Great. You can hear me. We just had, that's wonderful. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Happy belated birthday, Sheila. Today we're going to talk about how to make your contemporary reformer springs feel like classical reformer springs. That's the question we got. Like, what is it that you can do? Before I get into that, I just want to say this entire summer, every Sunday, I'm actually teaching people in my teacher training program that I have named Uplift. It is a teacher training program for new people who want to become a Pilates instructor, or people who have done partial Pilates trainings but not a comprehensive Pilates training. Or maybe you did do a full comprehensive contemporary training, but you would like to learn classical. Uplift can fit all of those needs. If you are a fully comprehensively trained teacher, but you want to study directly with me, that is my Elevate program. But Uplift, my teacher training program for people who want to become a classical Pilates instructor, will be taught by anyone who I've mentored already. And it'll be around the world. And we'll be announcing those locations by the end of the year. So if you would like to be a student of Uplift, if you like my style of teaching, you've always wanted to learn with my values and my theories and my experience from studying with someone who's trained with Joe Pilates, then you can get on the wait list to be a student of Uplift. You'll just go to xxll.co/UWS, xxll.co/UWS. It stands for xxll.co/uplift waitlist student. So I'll be interviewing the educators this fall. We'll have locations announced by the end of the year. And then next year, there'll be Uplift training programs that you can train with. If you are wanting to be in my mentorship program, 2027 is sold out. We are taking 2028 applications starting July 8th. You'll want to go to xxll.co/elevate. If you have any problems with the button on the site, I will just say Spectrum Internet is not liking me. So go off your Wi-Fi and use your data. Use Chrome, and if that doesn't work, just DM me and I'll send you a different link. But yeah, usually if you get off the Wi-Fi, it typically works. Okay, that all said, now that we have all of that out there, thank you so much. I'm super excited about that program. We're going to talk about how do we make your contemporary reformer feel like classical springs. So remember, classical springs are all the same weight. Okay, depending on the brand, there's typically only 4 springs. Some classical equipments do have a 5th spring that's a half spring. That was obviously added later after Joe. The other thing about classical equipment is that some of them have what's called a long neck spring. So you won't be able to really see it too much, but like my springs are closed, but my carriage wasn't closed. So when the springs are closed, the carriage still has another half an inch to go. That's called a long neck spring. So with contemporary springs, unfortunately, you'll never have that long neck feeling, that feeling like, okay, the spring is closed, but I still have to pull the carriage the rest of the way. That I can't give you just because of the design of your springs, right? Like that's a spring design thing. It's not something we can change. But with weighted springs, you can sort of get the feeling with it. So I on my tour that I'm doing in a few weeks, which is powered by Balanced Body, I work on a lot of contemporary equipment. I teach a lot of reformer classes. And so I'll speak to Balanced Body spring colors, but then I'll also say weights. So that will kind of help you. So my springs kind of feel like a green spring on the way out, but a red spring on the way in. So a heavy on the way out and a medium on the way in. And that's because I have more drag. So there are wheels on my reformer that cause a drag to feel. So it not slows it down, but it makes it harder to close the spring. It provides some resistance. And so unfortunately, you can get some of the spring tension to feel the same, but not that dragging feeling without those side wheels. So When I'm working with footwork springs, which is 3 to 4 heavy, for 34 springs of mine, I would say it's 3 to 4 heavy. Typically I will work with like 3 reds and a blue or 3 reds and a green. I rarely use a yellow. Or you could just do 3 reds if the person was on the smaller side. So then, when I'm working with 2 springs, I typically have 1 green and 1 red. In rare occasions, I will let people use 2 reds. I will say for my body, if I'm doing the long stretch series, 2 reds on a contemporary reformer feels too light. So a heavy and a medium is what you want, because the more advanced you are, the more springs you take off, right? But you always want the springs to feel like support to you. So you never want to feel like, oh my God, this carriage could just fly out underneath me. When I'm doing 1 spring stuff, then I would work with a red. Some people I'd work with a green, but most people I work with 1 red, because while the green is the feeling on the way out, the red is the feeling on the way in. And so I just don't want people to come in so easily, because closing the spring is our job. That's our job, right? We have to work on closing the spring. And so I'd rather be a little lighter on the way out, and then you have to work harder to close the spring. So that'd be a medium spring. So hopefully that gives you like some ways to think about heavy versus medium versus light. Always you're thinking about what springs are a support system. Everyone's looking to feel some sort of burn in Pilates. And the reality is that like a burning feeling or shakes in your body when doing Pilates is not necessarily a sign that you're doing a good workout, right? It might be that you're taxing yourself. Now, I do still feel like, ooh, I'm a little more warmed up here. There's more blood flow over there. This is a little harder, but it always feels like the spring and I are working together. If it ever feels like a spring is pushing you around, we have to check your setup first. We have to check that the exercise is right for you. If it feels like it's so light that you could just go as far as the carriage will allow you, then that's too light of a spring, right? So when I work with a light spring on this reformer, it is the hardest thing I will ever do. I mean, by light spring, I mean like doing long stretch instead of on 2 springs, I would do 1. That is hard. Doing it on 0 springs, so hard. So you don't want the spring to be so light that you could go as far, far, far away and come in. You want the spring to be something that you are working with. Always. It is helping you find more muscles in your body, not less. Every exercise is for the body, your body. So that's how you're going to pick those springs. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, of course. Things are, I get so annoyed with the way people have, I don't actually care if you're a contemporary or classical teacher. That has never been a thing I have. What I care about is if we are telling people that in order for a workout to have been hard, they should have felt a burn and they should be sore the next day. Sometimes I'm sore after a Pilates workout, but typically, definitely never so sore that I can't do another one the next day, right? And also it's so rare. It's like, oh, I must have just really felt a new connection. And then because this is a functional movement practice, not a torture situation. And I think too often we're treating our workouts as something that's to punish ourselves for what we did the day before, the lack of what we did before. This is your body. You're here to learn how to move with it from your center in the strongest capacity possible, so you could do the other things. You can go play your sports or go do some crazy activities. My trainer does high rocks. She won her world championship today in Sweden, right? She does some crazy stuff. Sometimes she puts those workouts in my workouts. Thank God for Pilates, because I can not only do them with great form, but I'm not going to die the next day, right? Pilates is what helps you really recruit more out of your body when you do the other things that you love or don't love, right? So hopefully that gives you some things to think about. And I'm just so grateful. All right. So we are going to be on tour starting August 4th or 5th, I believe. The first 2 cities are sold out, so the dates don't really matter. But opc.me/tour is where you want to go. opc.me/TOUR to see where we're going to be in real life this summer. We have 14 stops. 3 of them are completely sold out. 4 more are 5 spots or less. So we'll be in Denver, Lawrence, Kansas, You can get tickets still in Nashville. We're going to discuss the Swan and Snake in Nashville. Knoxville is going to be a rooftop mat class, and there's another workshop there. Greensboro is a really cool old mill that we're teaching out of. Augusta, Georgia, we've got some great stuff happening there. Atlanta only has 2 spots left. It's my fast workshop. Birmingham, we have 4 spots left in the workshop. Huntsville, 5 spots left. Birmingham, 4 spots left. Jackson, we have 2 spots left. And then we'll be in Frisco, which is just north of Dallas. We've got a few spots left in that workshop. El Paso, I will have a Spanish translator there. Tucson is sold out. Vegas is more than halfway sold out of everything. So if we're coming to a city near you or near where your friends are, we'd love to see you. There are CECs for the workshop. We don't hit the same cities 2 tours in a row. So if you're like, oh, I'll come winter tour, we probably won't be at those cities. In fact, I can guarantee we won't, because we have other cities to go to. Balanced Body is our tour sponsor. So we have gift certificates to raffle off and some other great stuff. So go to opc.me/tour. And again, if you are wanting to study with me, go to xxll.co/elevate. If you are someone who wants to become a Pilates instructor, xxll.co/UWS. I also find that spring settings are different from everybody. The springs I need might be heavier than someone in a small body. Oh my God. Yeah, we can never, ever assume, oh, because she's short, she must be on these springs, or because they're tall, they should be on these springs. No, and no teacher should make that assumption. You have to, if you're a teacher, understanding how to see if a spring is working with a client versus against a client, or they're working against it, is our job. It's our job. There are always like general rules, and then there's that body's rule. And it can also change, right? Depending on the exercise. Some exercises that are 2 springs, maybe when it has to do with your arms, you're like, oh, I need to change it to these 2, versus when the legs are more involved. Or we have to check and make sure that you're doing it from your center in the first place, right? Maybe you're not even ready for the exercise. And so actually the answer is not to change your springs. It's to not do that exercise and do something else. People hate when I say that, but we're not making Pilates more accessible, making sure that everybody can do every exercise. That's not how accessibility works. Our job is to make sure that we're actually raising everybody up to the exercise. Are we building the connections, or are we just building up their choreography? Right? But that's a different topic for a different day. Different topic, different day. I adore you guys so much. I really hope this gives you plant some seeds of how to think about it. The reality is that contemporary equipment was created for contemporary exercises. Classical equipment was created for classical exercises. They are not to be put into an us versus the other, this versus that, because they were created for different things in mind, right? I don't see trainers dissing kettlebells because of how they feel different than a dumbbell. No, they were created for a different feeling. Same goes if contemporary equipment was created for contemporary exercises. Yes, you can do classical exercise on, they will always feel different. Yes, you can do some contemporary exercise on a classical piece of equipment, not all, because of just the mechanisms, right? So that doesn't make one better than the other. They're just created different things. My neighbor is selling her house, and she's like, yes, this is a family house. You know how some houses are just designed for certain things? Her house is designed to raise a family in. Our house is designed for us to work in, right? So that doesn't make one wrong or right. It just makes it better for a different need. So you have to think about that as well. So if you have contemporary equipment and you're loving the way that I teach, I hope this gives you some ideas on how to pick your springs. And eventually you may want to just get onto a classical reformer so you can feel what it's supposed to feel like, so then you can make your own adjustments. That way you're actually being more intuitive. You're thinking about yourself. All right. You guys are amazing. I'm so grateful for you. I'll see you on tour. I'll see you next Sunday. We have another great question and answer. Bye.